of the last 2 weeks and the Supreme Court just blowing the Constitution to the ground, I would like to take a moment to be happy about our newest Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Welcome to MOMocrats Mama Chat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills, along with my cohorts in
misery,
what's going on, Karoli, and Aliza Worthington of crooksandliars.com. And the change of scenery and the fact that I just didn't have the energy to put on makeup today is because COVID, after 2.5 years, COVID has hit my house. My husband has it. He's home. I'm testing negative still, but I'm not feeling great. And I thought, well, you know what? I will come outside. So you'll get to hear the wind chimes in the background.
Nice. They're pretty.
Flight going into Van Nuys Airport because we're right on the flight path for that. And I apologize in advance for that, but look how pretty. You know, it's nice to be outside.
It's nice.
It is.
Yeah.
You have a nice blue sky.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than the kitchen behind me.
Okay. I guess we've put off talking about everything that's horrible. Can we talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson for another minute or two?
Can we? Why not?
Yes. I mean, she deserves to be the top of the show because she
deserves to be the center of attention. And
she's not going to be because
without reservation and without anything taking away from it. Because I got really, really mad today and yesterday. All the people that were just like being so negative about it, and I'm like, let this woman shine. Let her.
Yeah.
You know, stand on her own in this glory. And this is just such an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't take anything away from it.
It's huge. And I really hope that she is ready to take on some super, arguments. I feel like her perspective has been so lacking, and
honestly,
she's going to have weight in things, even if she is the youngest and junior justice or whatever. I mean, she will. She has a perspective that is sorely needed in that court.
Yeah. And she's going to balance out the youth of Amy Coney Barrett and relative youth of Brett Kavanaugh, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the two of them are the two youngest, right? Unless,
yeah.
Am I right about that? I think I am.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
So, she's going to be a much needed balance. She's going to be there long after Alito's gone. She's going to be there long after Clarence Thomas is gone. And
may Alito and Clarence Thomas be gone soon.
May the Lord see them gone soon.
Since
however they see fit to take them away from the Supreme Court, at least. And I refuse to let anything diminish the incredible depth of everything she's going to bring to that seat. And what it means historically and what it means for her and her family and the love in her husband's eyes when she was sworn in and just everything you can't tell me anything bad about this.
There's nothing bad to say about it. It's wonderful.
It's not her fault. She's shit at the court. Can you imagine the lunches she's going to have with Sotomayor and cake? Can you imagine those happy hours the three of them will go to?
Oh my God!
Twitter said today, Sotomayor has got to be tired of writing all those dissents. So here we have another one
all by herself.
Write a blistering dissent. Although I guess Kagan wrote the dissent today.
Yeah,
she did. She did, but I mean, there's just not to take away from Ketanji Brown Jackson, but what this court did today, what this court has done this term is anti-constitutional.
Did you see that list that someone put together about all the ways that they blew up the Constitution?
I did.
No, please. I have not seen it.
Let me find it. It was a 25 tweet thread.
Oh my goodness.
All the horrible things that they did.
In this term?
Yeah, just
Right.
in this term. Just most of them decisions in the last couple of weeks. I gotta find that.
And a lot of them were
yeah,
pretty much expected, but in they're anti-constitutional. What there's no consistency across any of them, right? So for overturning Roe v. Wade, it's there's no mention of abortion in the founding documents, which is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And absolute utter bullshit. And then for their decisions today, they just like the EPA decision, they just kind of said no, they really didn't have any basis for it. They made one up, but it wasn't anything to do with originalism or textualism or, was there an EPA in the original Constitution? They just looked at it and said, no, we don't want to do that.
Our smokestacks in the original Constitution, was there,
right.
I mean, they don't care about consistency, and they don't care about hypocrisy, and they don't care about any of that.
And that's why I say it's anti-constitutional.
Yeah.
They don't respect the rule of law, because if they did, they would be consistent about how they interpreted laws.
Yeah.
And and go from there, but they don't. They have no respect for it whatsoever. And that's what, more than anything, that's what just infuriates me. I honestly haven't even been able to process everything in a way that would be like rage filled, because there's a point where if you're too rage filled and you've had a stroke, you can't, your blood pressure goes off the charts. You just can't do it. So, so I've had to actually moderate my participation in the rage pool, but it's there. I mean, it's absolutely there.
Yeah. You have to find a way to balance it, otherwise you'll just give yourself another stroke,
Right. So I've been swimming laps in the pool. That's been my,
Okay. So here's the list. Rivas Villegas, where SCOTUS reversed the lower court to give a cop qualified immunity for using excessive force.
Hang on a second. Karoli, should you just cover your ears during this segment?
No, it's fine. I've read the thread. I read the thread.
From a former English professor who's now an appellate lawyer named Jason P. Steed at Fifth Circuit Appeals. So that was the first one. Telequa versus Bond. SCOTUS reversed the lower court to give a cop qualified immunity for killing a man. Shoup versus Twyford. SCOTUS made it harder to get habeas relief. Brown versus Davenport, another one that made it harder to get habeas relief. Shin versus Ramirez. SCOTUS does not like habeas relief. That's another one. Zubaida. SCOTUS allowed the government to withhold information about torture on CIA black sites.
Oh, good.
By A.O. Madero, SCOTUS denied Social Security benefits to residents of Puerto Rico. SCOTUS disallowed recovery for emotional distress damages in civil rights lawsuits. Patel. SCOTUS stripped federal courts of jurisdiction to review fact issues in immigration proceedings. Biden versus Missouri was where they blocked the federal vaccine mandate. Garland versus Gonzalez, they blocked long-detained immigrants' access to a bond hearing. Johnson versus Arteaga Martinez, they denied a long-detained immigrant's access to a bond hearing. FEC versus Ted Cruz, where they struck down campaign finance restrictions so Ted can pay himself back for loans he made to his own campaign. That's not corrupt.
No, not at all.
Egbert versus Bull, they limited a person's liability to sue federal officers. Vega versus Teka, that's the one where they weakened the enforcement of Miranda rights.
That one kills me.
Mackin, where they undermined the Establishment Clause, forcing the states to fund private religious schools. Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, that's the one with the coach who said that his prayer on the 50-yard line that, all the team players are supposed to go in with him on were private. So he's allowed to do that now. Denez P. That's the one this week where they recognized tribal sovereignty just enough to allow an Indian defendant to be prosecuted twice for the same crime. And Castro Huerta, they undermined tribal sovereignty by making tribal land part of state and allowing states to exercise jurisdiction on tribal land. Bruin is the one where they struck down New York's 100-year-old restriction on concealed carry to expand Second Amendment and limit gun restrictions. U.S. versus Texas, allowing Texas's bounty hunter anti-abortion law to go into effect. Dobbs, where they overruled Roe and Casey, eliminating the federal right to abortion and enabling severe, life-threatening restrictions on abortion to go into effect. West Virginia versus EPA, where they undermined the EPA's ability to regulate emissions and fight global warming. And he ends the thread with reminding us that it must be noted that that wasn't everything. They also did things on the shadow docket, like allowing Louisiana's racial gerrymander to stay in effect for the 2022 election. And after that thread was published, we got the news that they're taking on a case where they're going to decide if Republican legislatures should have the last word on, election issues rather than.
Right. If you think there's been gerrymandering now, just you wait. And
So
Ohio,
will that
if
mean
you
that
want to see what,
Democratic legislatures can have the last word too?
I'm sorry?
well, you'd like to think so, but I'm sure they'll find a way to sue Democrats.
They're not consistent whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you'd like to think that they would, but I don't have any faith in that.
until it's inconvenient for them, and then they bend themselves into a pretzel and find they make up a reason for why you can't do something, even though it clearly says it in the Constitution.
So, and the same thing with the, the praying on the 50-yard line. We're all, Donna, you and I are going to be able to stand there and say the Shema.
Yeah, right. I double dog dare you to try it.
Yeah.
And see what happens. And it's not just you saying it, it's you gathering all the students around you.
Right, making them say it. If I'm going to start substitute teaching, let me start substitute teaching and having, all my students, teach them how to, just the transliteration. They don't have to know what they're saying.
That's right.
Just teach them how to, say a Hebrew prayer and make them all say it with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like I had to do on Sunday for my parents' memorial with the kids.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, we don't have to know what we're saying.
V'yitzrameh,
yeah, v'yitkadal, v'yitkadash, shemei rabah,
whatever it is.
We all know it.
Oh, I mean, we're laughing, but it's just because if we didn't, we'd be literally tearing things apart on the screen.
Enraged.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So and that one, going back to the list, that one was almost to me as infuriating as the Dobbs ruling, because what it essentially said was that if you call yourself a Christian and you want to be in public with that, you want to proselytize and do all, sort of make this a thing, you can, but nobody else can. Right. And that's kind of the same thing that Dobbs said, right? I mean, Dobbs says,
did they say that
no, but I'm just telling you that that's in real life what's going to happen.
Yeah,
and this was not a ruling about all religious liberty. I mean, if somebody rolled out their prayer carpet on the 50-yard line and asked everybody to drop and kneel for Allah, I guarantee you that would not be in the Supreme Court right now.
No,
it wouldn't. And similarly, with Dobbs, we already have one party suing on religious liberty grounds, and Florida ended up suspending that 15-week ban, not because of that. They suspended it because of some other the violation of the state constitution.
Right. So
there's a provision in the state constitution. But do you think that we'll get? I mean, I would like to see Dobbs challenged on the religious liberty. Because it's seriously just not right that they're imposing basically Christian beliefs on the whole country, which is what they're doing. I mean,
They sure don't believe there's such a thing as an establishment clause.
Nope.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't. And they apparently don't have any use for the 13th and 14th Amendments either.
Well, those were to benefit
or the six,
weren't they?
or the tearing in half, the tearing apart of the Miranda rights is
right.
Was I was sick over that. I am sick over that. That is,
it's shocking. It is absolutely shocking.
The fascism is just accelerating.
And it's all in response. I mean, it's all in response to us demanding police be held responsible for their behavior.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which they should.
Which they should be. It's all in response to us demanding they not murder innocent Black people. And the fascists on the court and the fascists in across the land, the white supremacists in the police departments, are saying, really? That's what you want? Well, fuck that. Now you don't even have the right to be told what your rights are when we arrest you. I mean, we can if we feel like it, but maybe if you're Black, we're not going to feel like it.
And you can't sue us.
And you can't sue us for it. If there's no remedy, then the right doesn't exist. If we can't be punished for not doing it, then for all intents and purposes, that right does not exist.
Right.
So they essentially trashed Miranda. Miranda's gone.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that I don't have
they
to.
Trashed Roe v. Wade.
Yes, I know I have the right to remain silent, but not everybody does.
Well, especially if they stop showing it on TV.
Right. And my so like it's just mind-blowing to me. Like, my right to remain silent still exists, but their duty to inform me of it doesn't anymore.
Right.
And it's just,
and so imagine those scenarios where they're questioning people, and bullying them for hours and hours and hours, and these people don't realize they could ask for a lawyer and put an end to that. Exactly. And they won't know that now.
Children, when they do it to children.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, this court, we have to agree, is rogue. I mean, they're not legitimate. And there's only one way that you could possibly undo what's been done, and that is to expand the court.
Yeah.
And, Manchin and Sinema have already come out and said that, they're not even in support of a filibuster exemption for passing, for codifying Roe v. Wade.
Right.
Much less, a court expansion, which just infuriates me. I mean, I just literally want to.
They're infuriating. I think
they are.
I think Emily's List should ask for their money back for Sinema.
I do too.
Emily's List.
She was Emily's List candidate when she ran for Senate.
Right. And she got a lot of money from them too.
Yeah, but she's taking money from the Kochs now, I guess. And so, they have stopped giving her money, but they should request the money back from her.
Yeah. Right. I mean, they won't, because, of course, there's no quid pro quo on anybody's side, right? I mean, you give the money without any expectation of wink, wink.
Still.
Yeah.
She ran.
They make it clear that their goal is to elect pro-choice women.
That's right.
I mean, that's not a secret. It's right there. It's right. It's right there in their mission statement.
So it brings us.
Kristen Sinema is a fucking liar.
It brings us to our only recourse, and that is to vote blue, to get out the vote, and then you see all the people on Twitter trying to discourage you from voting.
Yeah.
And I'm pissed off. They're not doing anything. The Biden administration has not been able to do everything they want to do. They may not want to do everything we want them to do, but considering the mess they came into and an unplanned for war and everything else, I think they're our only hope. Right now, the administration we have, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. They're our only hope.
Yeah.
We have to vote for a better majority. And whoever is the Democratic president's gonna sign anything the Democratic majority gives him.
Yeah.
Or her. He doesn't run.
So there are a lot of people on social media that are trying to discourage right now. And definitely, and the press is, by the way, working alongside with that. You know,
oh my God. Don't even get me started.
Karoli, that thing about the Kentucky judge is part of
it. That was active sabotage. I am furious about that. I am so mad about whoever initially put that out. Was it the Journal, the Journal Sentinel? What's it called?
So it was the Kentucky Journal. Yeah, it's the Journal Courier. There are a legit paper, and they do good work. I did read that there was confirmation that there was some kind of deal struck. But here's the thing: we don't know. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying this is not acceptable, right? I mean, if let's say, for example, that there's a deal struck and they're floating it, right? They're floating it out there, and maybe it came from Mitch McConnell, maybe it came from Yarmouth, the progressive rep who knows or whatever. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it's legit, and I think it probably is on some level. Because they don't just make that stuff up out of turn. Here's the problem. They basically, it was reported as though it was a done deal. The headline was behind a paywall, and it was a clickbait headline, frankly.
Yes.
And if you read the article, you see where it says there's no vacancies in Kentucky, right? And there's none expected. So I don't know exactly what kind of deal that is, exactly,
and
or whatever.
How many liberals in Kentucky are there to begin with? How many people are Mitch McConnell going to put up for a judgeship anyway? How many liberals are Mitch McConnell going to put up for a judgeship anyway?
Right.
And
who cares? Well, we have the majority because they got rid of the blue slipping anyway.
So it's
when they were in charge.
It just seems like the timing was so.
The timing was
intentional.
Let's piss them off.
It was so awful. It's so awful, and it was such an outrage producing thing over nothing, over absolutely nothing. And we don't know what Biden. If there is some alleged deal, we don't know what Biden gets out of it.
Right. We don't know what the trade-off is, and it might be that
the trade-off is.
That's right.
But again, I mean,
I'm so mad at people using our outrage over. Like, we have enough to be outraged about over Roe.
Here.
Well, I was going to say that's the part of this that really makes me mad. I mean, Roe v. Wade is gone, so. What's the point of telling us that he's going to appoint an anti-abortion judge in a deal with Mitch McConnell? I mean, what does that do in Kentucky, right? What would an anti-abortion judge do now that Roe is gone? I don't know.
That hasn't already been done in Kentucky, because the co-author of that article of the journal, whatever, said that it was a Kentucky judgeship. Didn't even say it was a federal judgeship. There's confusion over what kind of judgeship they were talking about. Like, the headline said federal judgeship, and in the article it said a state judgeship. What are we even talking about here? It just was so.
It was intended to do what it did, no question.
Yes, and it was intended to get people to bash the Democrats, bash Joe Biden, bash Kamala Harris the day before Ketanji Brown Jackson was sworn in.
Yep.
Right.
The day before.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, that got flown under the radar. One of his biggest accomplishments, one of her biggest accomplishments, an incredible promise that he made that everybody thought he was crazy for making, that he pushed through, and they got done. And she is on the court now
Yes,
And
she is.
and who knows
For
about it?
life, conservatives.
Who was even paying attention to it? Nobody. All the progressives were just, pissed off about this stupid ass Kentucky story and bashing Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Actually,
I
I honestly just was pissed off at the court. It was really hard for me to switch gears into anything that was,
that I understand, but it just really seemed calculated to me, and I did not. I was really. It seemed calculated and manipulative, and I'm like, fuck them.
It was
for playing with our.
There's going to be a lot of that
emotions like
right
that.
now. There's going to be bots. There's going to be weird tweets and things. There's going to be people trying to discourage young people and left-leaning people from going to the polls. And we have to, I don't know how we fight it, but we have to fight that.
Well, I mean, the way to fight it is just to be honest. Do you think that Republicans are going to give you what you want? Maybe you're not getting everything you want for Democrats, but you're getting you got a better shot at it than you're going to have with Republicans, right. Who just appointed these fascists to the Supreme Court for life, right? And would like to have a permanent majority in this country. That was
saying that Biden isn't packing the court, and it's like, you go, FDR threatened to pack the court. Well, FDR didn't have a 51-50 Senate,
No, he didn't. And we don't even have a 51-50 Senate.
No, because of Manchin and Seneca.
So it's just, it's infuriating that people don't understand the basic civics and the basic history of it. And especially when they say that they're doing nothing. Even Biden came out and said he's willing to change to get rid of the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade. And which he hadn't been, which was infuriating. I am pissed off at how slow
when he didn't do it for voting rights.
I'm with Karoli when you said or I'm sorry, it was Donna. It was 5 minutes ago. It was a long time ago.
I would agree with Donna too. Yeah, go ahead.
That they're not doing everything. The Dems are not doing everything we want, but they're certainly doing more than a Republican would be. This is. First of all, he's been in Europe doing NATO but it's not like they haven't seen this coming, but the people who haven't seen this coming are the ones who stayed home in 2016 or were too pissed off that Bernie didn't win the nomination, or voted Jill Stein or voted third party, and they thought it would not be a big deal if they stayed home, and they wrote in Mickey Mouse, and they didn't vote for the email lady.
Right. And
those are the ones without the foresight.
Don't forget that when they ask Republicans who were crimed by Trump if they would vote for him again, they say yes.
In a heartbeat.
This is the thing that I can't understand. I cannot understand, but I use it as an example. I use it as an example of why their discipline wins over the long term, because you have somebody here who's like literally almost in tears telling a story of how he was,
harassed,
pressured and harassed, and
his daughter was dying.
Yeah, and everything. And, he stood up and he did the right thing. And yes, that's great. But when he's asked if he'd vote for Trump again, he said yes. Honestly, you could not get an explanation that I could understand out of that. I mean, at some point, and Liz Cheney was out here yesterday at Reagan Library, and she basically, Reagan Library is doing a lecture series called A Time for Choosing. And Liz Cheney jets in to do hers, right? And hers is basically the Republican Party needs to choose whether they're going to be the Republican Party or Trump Party. I mean, she said, and if it's the Trump, what she said is they need to choose between Trump and the Constitution. Yeah. And I'm sure for Republicans out here, that was very hard for them to hear. And I'm sure, it was on C-SPAN, and I know it's been talked about this morning. and everything. But she's being brave. I don't agree with any of her politics, but
No,
what she's doing on the January 6th committee is,
you can't
well,
tell
I
me.
have to give the respect for being true to the Constitution, something that even our Supreme Court justices, the conservatives, are not. Right? They're not true to the Constitution.
She's not a coward. She's definitely not a coward.
She is going for the jugular. She makes sure that she is nailing Trump in
She's
every
taking the
single
heat.
one of those hearings. And I really hope that the Democrats on the committee are taking notes on how she operates, because we need that on our side. We need that steeliness.
Yeah, we do.
Well, I think
And
we have it in some of the people on the committee. I mean, I think we haven't had a chance to, it's not that we haven't had a chance, but I think it's very intentional that you're seeing Cheney take the lead
Absolutely.
in getting out in front on all of this questioning. But
they're all complaining. There's no Republicans. How come there's no Republicans counteracting it?
There's no counteracting it. What's to counteract?
Every bit of testimony except for the voting workers were Republicans.
Every piece of damning evidence that's coming out of their mouths is coming out of the mouth of a Republican.
Right.
A Trump supporter.
One of the reasons that Hutchinson this week was so incredibly powerful was that she was a true believer MAGA Republican. I mean, she wasn't just a Republican. She was a true believer.
I almost choked when she was like, when they said, "How did you feel?" And she said, "Well, as someone who was, supposed to be carrying out the agenda worked so hard to carry out the agenda of the administration. I was sad for all the good he had done." And I was like, "What?" But then she said, "As an American, I was sickened, or whatever it was that she said." But I was like, "What?" She still thinks he did a lot of good. And I'm like, well, she would vote for him again if you asked her. I feel like every single one of these witnesses needs to be asked, would you vote for him again?
I don't think she would vote for him again. I don't. I do think. Huh?
I think she might be a little bit disillusioned.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
the White House firsthand.
I mean, I think she was honestly horrified by him wanting to take the mags. I guess we should talk about this, right?
It's
actually the hour mark. I thought we'd talk about SCOTUS for the first
time. We're at 32 minutes already.
So since the last time that we've convened, which was 2 weeks ago, right? We've had some really explosive January 6th hearings, but the last one was obviously the one that was most explosive, with the 25-year-old aide to Mark Meadows, Cassidy Hutchinson, and her testimony that, in my opinion, was amazing. Yeah, I mean, on so many different levels. I give her so much credit for being 25 and being so poised in front of the cameras like she was. And I mean, understand she was recruited by Republicans. So to be that's why when she was in college, she went to an internship with Ted Cruz, and why and then Scalise. And I mean, they were grooming her. And I use that term literally because that's what they do. They groom these young, kind of naive college kids and then get them in positions next to power. And it's a whole plan. But anyway, that was her. And she was a trusted aide. She had access to everything, right? Mark Meadows
wouldn't go anywhere without her being in the room.
People were surprised at the level of meetings she was allowed to be in, and that she was there as note taker for just basically everything. She was everywhere he was.
Show this morning.
I'm sorry?
On Nicole Wallace's show this afternoon.
Yeah.
They were saying that the reason why they had the surprise hearing is that Trump has been giving all the low-level people attorneys. And after her first 2 sessions with them, she was talking to Alyssa Farah, and she said, there are other things I want to say. What do I do? And she got rid
Who's
of
Alyssa Farah? I'm sorry.
She is
She
a
was one of the
former,
communications people.
right.
Okay.
So, who's, against Trump now that she's not with him.
Mhm.
But she, on her advice, switched attorneys, got rid of the Trump supplied attorney, and was willing to give them more information. And that was why they had that hearing this week.
Right.
And, I think it was brilliant because nobody thought it was going to happen. With Dobbs, everybody was all up in arms about that. It keeps it in the news. The whole place was on recess.
Yeah, they all came back for the hearing. So that was
They gotta have that
amazing.
drip going. They gotta have the drip of information going. And Denver Riggleman said, who was working with the committee, the ex-Republican congressman who was an investigator with the committee, he said that as explosive as her testimony was, there is more that is bigger that we don't know yet.
I believe it.
I believe it.
believe.
Jamie Raskin said it would blow the ceiling off the house, and everybody's going, we've seen it all, not going to happen. And it has, there are so many holes in that damn ceiling right now.
Right.
They haven't made a mistake yet. They haven't disappointed. They are doing everything they have said they would do with laser precision. And when, back to, before we start talking about the details of this, in terms of us taking notes, I think we have some Democrats on that committee from whom, that are, every bit as potent and steely spined as Cheney. And Raskin is one of them.
Raskin's one
But
of
we
them.
haven't even begun to hear from people like Elaine Luria, who I think is one of the most quiet yet powerful forces. You just look at the people on that committee.
Yeah.
Those are powerhouses.
Yeah. And let's give credit to Nancy Pelosi for
all the credit.
Appointing the committee, appointing Cheney and Kinzinger.
And Kinzinger, yeah.
And let's give credit to Kevin McCarthy where it's due for being an asshole and pulling off the Republicans.
Thanks, Kev, for having a little tantrum about not letting Jim Jordan on. And who is he? Oh, Jim Hines was the other one, right?
What a pleasure!
No, Jim Hines is a Democrat.
Oh no, who was the other one?
It was another one. It was another Jim.
It's Jim Jordan, and it was Rodney Davis, I think, was the other one that she wouldn't let on.
No, it was a Jim. It was a Jim. Jim Banks.
That's it.
Oh, Jim Banks. That's right. Jim Banks.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about the actual testimony from her. She was riveting.
So
she
was amazing.
The big thing was, and there was, again, there was so much little detail in there. It's like, but the big thing was the fact that Trump knew, or that the Secret Service was confiscating weapons from the people in going to the rally.
Yeah.
And so the crowd at the Ellipse was sparse, and he was pissed off about how it looked on the camera, as usual. And the Secret Service said, well, they are catching, and they named all the different weapons that they were confiscating.
AR-15s, Glocks. They had a dude up in the tree with a Glock.
Spears. Yep. Right. Spears.
And
spears, flagpoles with spears on them.
Pipes.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Explained to Trump that the majority of his followers were not going to the Ellipse because they didn't want their weapons confiscated. They had to go through a magnetometer called a mag. And he said, get rid of the mag. They're not there to hurt me. Or they're not here to hurt me.
So I'd like to ask you both, at that point in time, did you have this vision in your head? I did. Like something out of a movie where he's at the forefront of all these violent men with guns and spears, this screaming crowd, and he's on this Capitol steps. We stood on the Capitol steps. So,
Yes,
and he's on the Capitol steps leading them on. Come on in, come on in. I mean, that was what went into my mind. It was like the nickel dropped, yet there's the seditious conspiracy right there.
And
right?
with his documentarian there to capture it.
Exactly. So,
he
I mean,
pictured himself on a horse leading them into battle against.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So that was the first thing, and that was the real smoking gun. We all knew that there were no measures to protect him at the White House, that they weren't worried about anything happening to them. But this was confirmation that he not only knew about the weapons, he was fine with it.
Yeah.
He was
fine. He would have been fine if they'd used them because it wouldn't have hurt him.
It was part of the plan.
Right.
The fact that there were that many weapons, and I'm not sure why they didn't use them, maybe because there was no Antifa. But
right. That's what they wanted. They wanted
so much worse than it was.
Well, we Antifa people were smart and we stayed home.
Exactly. Did you hear? I heard somebody say that the reason that the Capitol Police felt hamstrung and like not wanting to shoot or use their guns or weapons was because there were so many weapons that they were afraid it turned into, just a bloody mayhem on the Capitol steps.
I believe that.
I hadn't heard that, but I believe it.
I mean, we just saw that in Uvalde, where they wouldn't go in because they just were, one AR-15's more than enough.
God.
I mean, the whole thing is just so crazy to me and not crazy. Like when she was describing that scene with him saying, take down the effing mags, let them all in, they won't hurt me. I'm just thinking he wanted to be the star of that show. He wanted to be, like you said, on his horse.
He wanted to be Mussolini,
riding up to the Capitol,
leading the crowd.
Yeah.
He wanted to rile up an armed mob and send them to the Capitol. That's what he wanted.
Coming into the Capitol where he's not supposed to be there without an invitation.
Yeah. Well, what does he care about an invitation?
Right. So the White House counsel said, according to her testimony, says, be sure that he doesn't go to the Capitol because if he does, we'll get accused of breaking so many laws, all the laws, you won't even know. It'll be terrible. So,
what laws would he be breaking by going to the Capitol at that point?
Well,
if he went personally.
If he went personally, I mean, I think that they'd put together that it would have been an insurrection. Yeah, number one. Number two, he's not supposed to be on the Capitol grounds without an invitation.
Okay.
I mean, that's like a
separation of powers in this country.
Got it. Okay. I didn't realize that was like a legal. I thought that was more of a protocol thing. I didn't realize it was.
Well, it might be, but I mean, I think actually Nicole Wallace asked that question, what all the laws, and nobody really had a specific answer, but that's something that Cipollone should actually answer, right? What laws was he envisioning them breaking?
I'm really curious.
I'm really curious. We all want to see his testimony. I'm very glad they finally subpoenaed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Although I don't know if we'll see it, but it might be videotaped. I'd be very surprised if he testified in person.
He's not going to.
In which case, if they videotape it, we'll see whatever the committee decides to show us. It'll still be worth our seeing.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, either that or he'll just take the fifth over and over. That's the other thing that could happen, I guess. Oh, but
speaking of taking
can we just move on to Flynn taking the fifth?
Yes.
I have to say one of the more shocking moments for me, and I was shocked, right, was when they, under oath, they asked Flynn if he, what was the exact question again? I can't remember what it was, but do you support the peaceful transfer of power?
Yes.
And he said he took the fifth. He took the fifth to something that's like so basic and fundamental for all the talk that these guys have about founding fathers and the Constitution and how,
I'm a patriot.
He took the fucking fifth.
Yeah,
that's and he's he should be court-martialed. He should be restored to active duty and court-martialed and have his pension taken away. I'm sorry.
Right.
That guy is a traitor. There's no other way to say it. If he can't even support the most basic tenets of the Constitution, I don't know what to say.
Yep.
So, I was shocked by that. I honestly was.
And it's hard to be, there has been so much, you think that nothing else is going to get through, but this hearing, it got through.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, they said that when she was testifying, when they showed this video, that there were audible gasps in the room from the journalists.
Yeah,
I believe that. I mean,
I
was gasping here at home.
I was gasping at home too.
Yeah. And then, of course, the incident in the limo that doesn't matter, except that it was just so crazy. And it really pisses me off that SNL is done. I mean, they should have an emergency SNL sketch.
I agree.
Because we have to see SNL do that,
Yes, we do.
And the ketchup, and the fact that he was busy breaking White House china all the time because he got pissed.
Yeah.
I mean, no big deal. He was just like putting his hands on the neck of his Secret Service agent, but no big. Yeah.
He's lucky they didn't put his ass down. I mean, he like those guys are freaking trained killers. Like how? Well, because they're maggots. They're
right. All of his guys were maggots.
Ones were on his detail.
Yeah. I mean, they're all willing to get COVID for him. They're all willing to die.
Right. Back on that.
Right. The press actually is obsessing too much on that, in my opinion, on that because it's like a shiny thing.
A substantive thing. Yeah.
Or whatever. But I mean, honestly, nobody's denying that whether he put his hands on a Secret Service agent or not, that he was out of his body pissed because he wanted to go up to the Capitol with those people. And again, I come back to the fact that if nothing else has shown his intent with regard to the words he said at the rally and what he did to stir up that crowd, I don't know what would. I don't know what would convince you.
As far as her testimony goes, she didn't testify that he did it. She testified that Tony Ornato told her that he did it. She's just testifying that she was told a story.
Right. And that the guy who was part of the story did not correct the story.
Right. So if they really, but people aren't making that. People aren't willing to go to think in two steps like that.
Well, no.
People are saying, "Oh, it didn't happen," so they're trying to discredit her.
She's an unimpeachable witness, so they're trying to
utterly unimpeachable.
Totally unimpeachable. All she did was say, "Hey, they pulled me into this office, and they pulled me into this room, and they said, hey, did you hear what happened in the Beast or whatever?" Which it wasn't.
And I'm looking at the guy who's looking kind of dazed and confused, like, "What the hell just happened to me?" So I mean, the whole thing. It goes to his state of mind, and that's pretty much it. Whether he put his hands on somebody or he didn't, his state of mind was that by damn he's going to go to that Capitol and he's going to lead that crowd because they love him and he loves them. And
he planned this whole insurrection. He wants to be there.
He wants to be there for it.
He's the star of the insurrection.
Right. It's his birthday party. Why can't he go?
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. So I know. It's like, do you think about, I think about that. And then like I said, I just envision this movie scene, where all the crowds are shouting and he's at the top saying, MAGA.
I keep thinking about when back to Flynn. Barack Obama, telling Trump in the Oval Office, that guy's trouble.
Yeah. And Trump
That guy's
said,
trouble.
"Oh,
Be careful."
good. He's just my guy."
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, like it's just
and that
unbelievable.
guy is a general. You guys. I mean, he's retired, but he's a general
He's a
in the army.
general.
Holy shit!
Was at the highest levels of our military intelligence.
And he was national security advisor.
And Barack
for a
Obama
day or so.
knew even then. He knew then that there was like a fucking screw loose, and he was dangerous.
That's why he was fired.
And
right. I don't know. I mean,
just and here he is on
just
6 years later. We're listening to him say he doesn't believe he takes the fifth on whether there should be a peaceful transfer of power.
Yep.
Like, how many people told us?
I was trying to honestly figure out, like, what would incriminate him about saying that, right? And the only thing I could think of is that
what would make it, how could he get in trouble?
Why couldn't he say he doesn't agree with it? That's why
he wasn't he was involved.
That's right.
Yeah,
he was in the war room that Mark Meadows wanted to go to, and
that was another shocking moment.
there.
Roger Stone, all these miscreants, right? And Mark Meadows is like, yeah, I want to go down there and hang with those guys and plan stuff.
Yep.
I just, and again, Pat Cipollone
weak ass coward
no.
Mark Meadows is. Look at the way these fucking men in power are letting these young women, these children. She's 25. Come. You know, these young women have the courage to come forward.
Yeah.
And say, you know, that woman is that child needs to be in witness protection for the rest of her life, probably. The threats that she must be receiving is, you know, and again, don't get me wrong, I'm sure she's a racist maggot person. You know, she still loves Trump, or she said, you know, all the good he did, and I still, whatever. I'm not going to turn her into a hero. I respect her courage, and she's unimpeachable as a witness, and thank her very much. But she has to go. Her life is over.
Yeah. You need to give her credit for coming forward, for
she doesn't deserve to have her life threatened for telling the truth about an insurrection.
Around her was not right.
Meanwhile, Mark Meadows, while it's happening, is sitting there on his phone going, yeah, I know, whatever. Have you heard from the president? You know, he's just like, what a coward.
Well, not a very
one of the moments. One of the moments where I really, really started to kind of freak out was the one where she said to somebody else, we need to get Mark to understand what's happening here, because he's just like not reacting to it. Yeah, and I thought, you think? I mean,
that she understood the gravity of it, and he must have been just so removed. What kind of mental state?
He understood. He was fine with it.
Right. That's the bottom line. He was fine with
him.
Yeah, you're right.
Those people with the weapons at the Capitol weren't coming after him.
Right.
They were coming after Mike
Pence. So what did he care?
Maybe he gets to be the next vice president, right?
That's right. And who was the one who said, well, if you're not going to go down and say something to him, I am. And then he finally was like, all right. And he got up and went down. Who was the one who said that?
I don't remember who said that, but
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Probably it was probably Cipollone again, because,
probably.
You know,
it might have been Cipollone, who insisted on going down into the Oval Office.
Who Jared characterized as a whiner.
Right. Okay.
How dare the council tell us to follow the law? I was reading something where Trump just would always berate Cipollone and tell him what a lousy lawyer he is.
Well,
because he
Trump like Trump knows what from a great legal mind from his ass.
Well, no, Trump's idea of a great lawyer, the best lawyer ever, is Roy Cohn. You know, and these threats that witnesses were getting that they played at the end of the hearing.
Oh yeah,
it's like
witness tampering.
You know,
that's right out of the mob playbook, right? He's watching your testimony, and as long as you stay on the team, you're gonna be just fine.
You'll be fine. Yeah.
And one of those messages was one that was sent to Cassidy.
I think two. Well, she's had at least two sent to her, hasn't she? Yeah. She's had.
He reads depositions. That was the other one. He does read the depositions, so
how does he have access to them?
Because they're going to release
Discovery, I guess. Yeah. Oh, they're going where?
Well, everything that the committee does is going to be made public.
No, I know, but how? When I saw that, I asked the same question: how does he read the depositions when it's not available to anybody else? Right? I mean, they're not out there now for us to read.
Yeah, he could be bullshit.
Well, the other thing I thought of is if he's hiring the lawyer that was representing her, it is possible that lawyer has a copy of the deposition.
Right.
So
that is very possible because we have a legal system that tries to be fair, which is how Trump was able to game it on everything.
Yeah. So, crazy. I mean, the best thing she did was to get rid of her Trump lawyer, which, by the way, I think there's witness tampering in the whole I'm Donald Trump and I'm going to hire your lawyer for you kind of thing.
Yes, that also is.
And using RNC funds, by the way, to do that, right? And WinRed stuff runs all the way through the Trump organization. And I mean, it's just, we haven't even touched the grift yet.
No, we're just about done, and I am about ready to stop.
Take a nap.
Oh, okay, go take a nap.
So, it's 4th of July weekend. Enjoy your lovely country while you have it.
Yeah, really. What's left of it anyway.
I'll be watching fireworks on TV, or Gareth and I might drive up to top of a hill and look at them,
We can see them from our lake this year, so that'll be kind of fun.
Nice. I have no interest in participating in any festivities. I'm feeling very cynical and not.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Don't play the Star Spangled Banner or any of that stuff.
But you're still going to vote. No matter how cynical we get, we're going, because it's our only.
Voting is my only power.
Only thing we can do at this point. And if we all do it, we can put a stop to this.
Yeah.
It may take us a long time to win, but we can make it stop.
Yep. We have to.
Yeah.
We have
to. On that happy note, that's go for the week. Join us next week at MOMocrats.buzzsprout.com, our YouTube channel, or find us on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. This is Donna Schwartz Mills saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
MOMocrats Mama Chat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.